Ross Coulthart, in a recent interview, just addressed the 2027, 2030s sort of rumor that's going around that there might be an alien invasion, a spaceship is coming, some sort of outside threat, extraterrestrial threat is headed this way, right? Well, Ross Coulthart has decided to address these, again, rumors, which, if you remember, Jeremy Corbell stated in his UFO Revolution documentary series that was featured on Tubi, produced by TMZ, he stated in that, I made a video about it, that there would be, this lie coming to tell us about this threat coming in 2027. Well, that date is kind of all over the place. But the idea that there was this rumor of a threat, right? Again, an extraterrestrial threat headed towards Earth. Let's hear what Ross Coulthart has to say.
Look, I don't know. Simply, I don't know. I've heard 2027. I've heard 2034. I hear stories of catastrophes. I hear stories of arrivals. They're just stories. I mean, how do you corroborate things like that? I mean, that's the problem I have with, for example, things like abductions and mutilations. Unless I'm there to see it, how do you prove this stuff? So if somebody says to me, as has been said to me, that 2027 is going to be a big year, and then later on I hear 2034 is going to be a big year, frankly, I don't know. I mean, I really have no idea. But yeah, I mean, there are people who say that there are time limits. I certainly think this. I think the NHI, whatever it is prodding humanity's awareness of itself. And I think that the so-called drones are part of that. Not all of it, but part of that. I think that what's happening is there is a deliberate engagement by the NHI with certain people. They're trying to prod human consciousness. And I find it really interesting, the number of people I meet who have suddenly developed an interest in the phenomenon after they've had one or two weird, anomalous encounters. It's like what's happening is the NHI is showing itself to people.
So again, y'all, this rumor has been going around for a minute, right? This 2027, mid 2030s, somewhere in there, something happening, right? That rumor's been floating around, and it's being weaponized behind the scenes, right, to get people to activate and to do things they normally wouldn't do because they think, well, the end of, civilization is coming, because these aliens are coming back, right? But more than anything, you hear Ross talk about it. I've heard Luis Elizondo talk about it. I made a video about it. Again, Jeremy Corbell stating that this will be a lie. Now, Luis Elizondo's comments were very similar to Ross's in the fact that, they're just like putting up their hands. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. But the thing is, what they never talk about is proof, evidence. What evidence or proof have they seen that this is coming? And if they haven't, then just say it's not happening, right? Because why put fear into people? I think even saying, well, I don't know, is kind of like, what do you mean you don't know? Like, if you haven't seen proof of it, then the answer should be no, right? What proof could they show you to let you know that there's aliens coming? Does that make sense? Unless it's some like data from a telescope, high-powered James Webb, something like that. Otherwise, you know what I'm saying? Because people were going around saying they got messages, right, from the NHI telling them that this was going to happen. And that is always a huge red flag for me. No offense. But I don't trust anything that anyone tells me they said they got from NHI. If they said they got that information from NHI, I don't trust it. Because how am I supposed to know that that's verifiable, trustworthy information? Because an on-human intelligence told you, well, then it must be true, right? It must be true. I mean, it'd be like a regular, person, right, from the world going to these, some like lost tribe and telling them things, trying to predict the future. It's kind of one of those things. It's the same thing. Like, they'd be like, what? What are you talking about? Well, this is happening, guys. We're going to be coming. We're going to be, cutting out your trees, taking away your villages, What? Right? It's how do we know that NHI has the authority to even say, does it make sense? How do we know that the NHI has the authority to even say what they're saying about this craft coming? And why would you give that away, right? Why would you give that away and say that that's happening, right? The element of surprise is gone. And again, unless you're seeing data on this, I don't see how you don't just flat out deny it, right? And again, anyone saying that it is happening, I want to see the data that they're looking at. Because if it's just so-and-so told me, that's an issue. And that's where it all came down to, right? I'm going to put a link in the description to my video about Jeremy Corbell and this and him warning us that this would happen. Because I explained in that video where that rumor started from 2027, right? So you can go watch that video and find out and traced it back. And again, it's just, trust me, bros. It's just, this person told me this. I got a message, right, from the NHI. And for me personally, I'm super careful of that because I don't believe in the idea of pushing this threat narrative that the aliens are coming, right? It's like, been there, done that in this, how many times does that happen in recent memory? And it never ends well. Right? Never ends well. So, again, unless some proof or evidence is provided, then we should be preparing ourselves on a global scale, right? But the idea that a few, like, UFO podcasters would know above the rest of humanity, it's kind of ridiculous. So just be wary of things like that, in my opinion, hearing these kind of things. And you're going to keep hearing this 2027 until 2027 comes around. And I'm going to keep covering it. You're going to hear mid-2030s, again, because they'll keep moving it. And then when we're in the 2030s, and I'm still doing vetted, as an old man, we'll be talking about the 2040s, right? They just keep pushing it down the line. So if I were you, I wouldn't be worried about any threat narrative coming. And again, even if, you watching or listening have an ability to communicate with this NHI, how do you trust what they're telling you to be true? Right. And then you got Chris Bledsoe saying that 2026, Easter 2026, that's what's happening. Again, all these prophecies, predictions, just not a big fan of it. And it makes me very weary, of people who make those sort of claims. And again, imagine you go to some, up and coming podcasters or people looking to get into ufology and kind of interested, maybe had an experience, and then secretly behind the scenes you start telling them about this event that's going to happen 2027. There's an alien invasion coming. You need to prepare. Don't tell anybody, but this affects humanity. This is life or death. And now you can weaponize those people to do things, say things that they would never do. And that is absolutely happening in ufology. And I hope more people talk about this. The 2027, 2020 or 2030s, narrative here that something is coming, something is happening. Because who's going to hold them accountable when those dates come and nothing happens? Right? And I think people are getting confused that there's this asteroid that's headed, potentially, has a small percentage chance of hitting Earth. It's coming in the 2030s. I think people are conflating those stories, right, and trying to piggyback off of that, right? So I say just be careful, what you hear out there, right? And it's called Adolphus. That's the asteroid that's, and in fact, the percentage keeps going up, in fact, but we have time. So, but that's a real thing. We're tracking, we're talking about it, there's evidence, proof of it, right? That's the first thing you should ask of if someone says, well, the aliens are coming in 2027. What proof do you have of that? Well, Susie told me. I mean, are you going to build a bunker and put your whole family, on the line because some random person told you something? Seems crazy. So anyway, very interesting to see how this is all going to play out. Again, I'll put a link in the description to that Jeremy Corbell video I made. I recommend sharing that video far and wide to spread the news that that's not going to happen. And that's a lie that's going to be told to convince people, right? To activate people, essentially, to do the deeds of those who are telling you that this is coming and there's nothing you can do about it. You know what I mean? So anyway, all right, let me know what you guys think in the comments. We'll see you guys in the next video. Remember, every day's a gift, y'all. Peace.
I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in the cradles, profanities. I see the world through ice covered in ink and bleach. Cross out the ones who heard my cries and watched me weep.